Well, we are on Osage Creek, which is a major tributary to the Illinois River, and we did a restoration project here we built it, constructed it in 2015, at the end of 2015. So this project is 4 years old, and the old cut bank was here where this white post is, all along here, and the river was taking out the landowner's field where he grazed his cattle, and he was losing quite a bit of property, somewhere depending on the flood event, 50 acres plus. The river was very unstable. There were debris jams everywhere, and there were remnant cut banks across from here when the river used to be on the other side. So there was just cut banks and debris jams all through here. And so we continue to remove invasive species of plants out here. So most of what you're seeing behind me is almost all natives. Now you're going to see Johnson grass in this field, and we probably have a little bit, but we don't have much because we treat for Johnson grass and other invasives, so we can have a healthy stand of natives that's going to support wildlife. Our restoration is about 2,500 feet, and the design, we use natural channel design principles, so we mimic stabled areas of the river, and in this case there's quite a few rivering floodplains. If you look over there, you can see a mature hardwood forest. That's all flooded area with little side overflow channels and wetlands, and we mimic that part of the natural channel in our design. From here out, we rebuilt the floodplain using a towwood bench as the foundation. So it prevents the bank from continuing to erode. And then we rebuilt floodplains back on top of it. And we included in our design on this side a couple of wetland depressions and an outflow. So when the water rises, it actually fills these wetlands, and then there's a little outflow area downstream. So this is our outlet, and this type of feature with the wetlands in the floodplain and then an outlet back to the stream, we found that throughout this site naturally, and so when we designed this, we mimicked what was here naturally. And then if you look across the river from here, that was all a cut bank previously. Where this gravel is, on the other side of that is natural wetlands, rivering wetlands, but the river used to be over there, and so there was this long cut bank through there, and we went ahead and sloped that bank back and planted it with native vegetation and restored that as well. So instead of seeing just a cut bank, now you see what it should look like, healthy native riparian vegetation. So we are on Osage Creek again, but now we're at the headwaters in Rogers, Arkansas, and this is the area where Osage Creek begins. And basically this restoration project was done because the stream was threatening the trail system that runs along the creek. So that's the Razorback Greenway. And also the city bought this property to create a nature park, and they wanted us to restore this section of Osage Creek through the nature park that in the future they're going to develop and have more trails so people can enjoy the natural environment. We completed construction in August and revegetation maybe by the end of September. And so because we just completed it, you can actually see the structures that we built. So downstream of this rock structure, that's a towwood bench. You can see the root rods sticking out. Those root rods and the tree stem go another 25, 30 feet back into the bank. And then we reconstructed that bank. So we've got 2 soil lifts on top of the toewood. Okay, we're on the downstream end of the Osage Creek, Upper Osage Creek project. And what you're seeing right now behind me is a toewood bench. The old cut bank was where the line of mature trees is over there. And we completely rebuilt the bank back out. We built a toewood structure first. As the others, it goes all the way to bedrock. And then we built these floodplains on top using what we call bioblocks, but it's an encapsulated soil, and there's a hard coconut fiber. It's about 6 inches wide. It's a foot tall. It's on the base of these. And the erosion control fabric in this space gives your vegetation some time to get established before it disappears. So that's why we install these. If we just tried to put soils and plants, the first flood event would take most of it away. And we were just at the lower Osage Creek project. This is the exact same technique we used on top of the toewood. And you can see we had a really nice stand of vegetation there. And so eventually the trees and shrubs that we have planted will hold the soil in. But that's why we recommend 5 years of maintenance, is to make sure you get that vegetation established. That's about how long this fabric will last at the most. And so this is our inner berm elevation. This is our bank full elevation. And then this grass that you see here, those are oaks. We were doing this planting in the summertime, so for our nursery crop we used oats because it's a warm season plant. If we're in a cool season, we use winter wheat. The photo you saw upstream, or the picture you saw upstream, that was winter wheat that was coming in. And as you can see, the oats have gone to seed. They will disappear, they will not persist. And if we come back next year, you're going to see quite a few native plants. What's important to note here is how big these trees are that were existing. And that's one thing that's nice about this watershed, Osage Creek, is there are incredibly old, mature trees that run along the riparian. And unfortunately, lots of those trees are getting undermined into streambank erosion. And we actually end up seeing quite a few on the very downstream end on our project. So this type of project is, these trees aren't going to go into the water. They're going to stay there and live out their lives in the riparian. And that's what we want to see more of throughout this watershed. But I want to also point out, you can see I'm standing next to a grade control structure, and then there's one above me, and then there's another one downstream. And so these are our ripple grade control structures. The one that's most upstream is holding that water elevation on the toewood. It's best to keep that wood wet, and then it won't decay. But the top part of it, that's why the vegetation establishment is so important, is once our tree roots get established, then it will be okay, because those trees eventually, or at least the top part of them, begin to decay. And then also I'd like to point out that all the trees used at this site were repurposed from developments. So the developer saved the trees for us, the entire stem with the root ball, instead of burning them, and then we utilized them to construct our toewood. We also did a small tributary. It's called Stony Brook. And what I'd like to say about this is this small tributary used to run through this entire field And when everything was developed in this area, it got squished into just this tiny stream channel, or at least the length of it is probably only 30% of the length that it had before. So what does that mean? It means you have to dissipate all that energy with only 30% of the stream channel. And what we ended up doing was a series of rock drop structures. And so you can see them behind me. And we've been through a pretty good size event, and they've done well. We created floodplains adjacent along the entire stream. We replanted with native vegetation, and you know, really the clock's ticking. If that native vegetation can get established and growing, that's going to give this a better chance of working once a big flood comes through. Right now it looks fantastic. There's a lot of water in the stream. This doesn't flow all year round. In the summer it dries up, but one thing about what we designed here is these drop structures create deep pools, and so we're hoping at a minimum the pools will hold water through the summer. Okay, we're on the very upstream of the Osage Creek Restoration Project in Rogers, Arkansas, and basically the creek had taken out the walking trail that many people in this area use. It's part of the Razorback Greenway. It's to my left. It's up on top of this terrace. And so the last big flood, the city had to completely rebuild the trail. We put in our bioblocks and revegetated with native plants. Because the trail is so close to this, the city decided to put this fence up for a safety reason. And anyway, again, this has been very effective in protecting the trail, and they should not have any more problems after this. We are out at our Little Sugar Creek project, and this is one of my favorite projects. We just finished building it. The heavy equipment construction in May, and then we completed planting probably about 2 or 3 months later than that. And of course, we continue to maintain this site. This particular site, which is located, we're kind of at a point where Bentonville, Bella Vista, and Benton County all come together. I think this project runs through all 3 of those, but across over here is the Bella Vista Park, and then on this side is private land. What was happening here is there was this huge cut bank all along Little Sugar Creek, and there was a pattern problem because it was like the stream was going straight, and then all of a sudden it had to make a 90-degree turn. And when the floods came, it was really difficult to make that turn, and so there was just all this flood debris, you know, big trees, everything accumulated, log jams all through here, along with a eroding stream bank. We slightly changed the pattern of the stream. When we did a review of the historic photos, it turned out that there was a much more friendly pattern about 30-40 years ago, and we found the remnant channel, and we basically just recreated the channel that was here previously, and we built a plug through here, and then the leftover channel we turned into riverine wetlands. So that's all still part of the stream channel. It's just that the flood waters, as the water rises, those wetlands fill up, and it acts as an overflow for those big flooding events, which gives a lot of relief to the main channel. So the way we stabilized the stream banks was we built a towwood bench, and you can see one over here, and then there's one upstream of here, and then we rebuilt using soil lifts. We reconstructed the banks and planted with native vegetation. So we are in the Ozark Highlands ecoregion. So all the plant species that we use here would be native to the Ozark Highlands ecoregion. There's two rock structures that we put in here for grade control. And I talked at previous sites that we use those structures to help keep the toewood benches wet. But another great purpose for these structures is that you get aeration of the water. So all the living organisms associated with the river system, they like oxygenated water. And so when the water flows through these structures, it reoxygenates that area, which is extraordinarily beneficial. These rock structures also create really deep holes in the river, and the fish love them as habitat. They like the rock for cover as habitat. So all of this creates wonderful habitat. So we have a series of 2 structures here because we wanted so much water on our wood, which is protecting the toe of the upstream bank. And so we wanted to slightly drop this down. So the other structure is helping us get back to grade on that downstream riffle. And you don't want these structures to be too tall or have too much of a drop, or the fish won't be able to pass through them. So that is part of the design, is to ensure that there's a way that the fish can still move through the structures. This project was funded through an EPA Wetlands Program Development Grant with the City of Bentonville matching or providing the matching funds through a Walton Family Foundation grant. So behind me is the old channel that we turned into riverine wetlands. So the channel is still part of the river system, and I love this this part of the project, creating wetlands. In my feeling is wetlands are the heart of our ecosystems. They provide diversity to the habitat, and I just can't say enough good things about them. And so this wetland is brand new, and hopefully the RWP will come back later, and maybe a couple of years later, and film it again. And it's going to be full of native, diverse wetland plants, birds, songbirds. You can see we've already got a mud flat that's established through the floodwaters. There are certain species of birds that love that, and that kind of habitat is becoming more and more rare. So yeah, we just completed this construction late spring, early summer this year, and I'm in the wetland area, and you can see we already have quite a few wetland plants that have come in. And some other important aspects is, as the floodwaters rise, or as the river rises, this actually fills with backwater early on, and it acts as a big settling basin, so it helps to filter out pollutants in the river system, in addition to the biodiversity that it brings. And also it can act as a nursery for fisheries. This is connected below bank pools, so definitely it can act as a nursery for our fisheries too.